Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. And today, let's talk for a little bit about Nikola Jokic, who right now is in the midst of the best season of his career, which feels almost insane to say when you consider the fact that he's currently a reigning back-to-back MVP. But when you take a look at the numbers and the team's success, it's almost undeniable. On the season, Nikola Jokic is averaging 25.1 points per game, 11 boards, and 9.9 assists, with a 69.8 true shooting percentage, which is the 10th highest true shooting by any player all time, and the highest in NBA history by a player shooting at least 15 field goal attempts per game. So he's having probably the single most efficient volume shooting season in the history of the sport, while also being just 0.1 assists away at this point from averaging a triple-double on the season. This would of course just make him the third player in NBA history to accomplish this feat, joining Russell Westbrook, who's done it a few times, as well as Oscar Robertson. And that's elite company to be in when you talk about the triple-double. And I really think Nikola Jokic will be there by the end of the season, the way that his stats are progressing, because they just keep getting better and better as the year does go on. He also just became Denver's all-time assist leader as well, which is incredible to say for a guy that plays the center position. Of course, Jokic isn't just a normal center, he's the single greatest playmaking center in the history of the sport, and that's really not even a debate at this point. And the Nuggets themselves are right now sitting at 33-13 on top of the Western Conference, about a game ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies for that 1 seed. They're only 1 game back of the Boston Celtics for the single best record in the NBA at the moment. They've won 9 straight games. They're 19-3 in their last 22 games, so they're dominating teams, and most of these are double-digit wins, some even like 20-30 point W's. Right now, they're probably my favorites to come out of the Western Conference, which isn't saying a lot. They're the 1 seed. That's not exactly a bold statement, but when you just take a look at the talent level on this team, especially offensively, right now they are the single greatest offensive team according to offensive rating. I know there's a bit of an offensive explosion going on right now in the NBA, but nonetheless, it's still very, very impressive that it's the first time in NBA history a team has put up an offensive rating that the Nuggets have. Overall, when you consider the team's success with the Nuggets being probably the favorites to come out of the Western Conference at this moment, as well as Jokic's individual statistics, it's pretty clear that he should be one of the frontrunners for MVP, and in my opinion, he is the leader at this moment. I think most people agree with me in this case. I didn't take a look at any betting odds before making this video, but I would imagine that most betting websites probably also have Jokic as the current favorite to win the award, which once again, when you consider the stats and the team's success, that's not at all surprising. If he does end up taking home the MVP award, he would be just the 4th player in NBA history to win back-to-back-to-back MVPs. He would join the likes of Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird, and Bill Russell, 3 guys that are probably in most people's top 10 players of all time, if not at the absolute worst top 12. So this is not just elite company, this is all-time best to ever play the sport type of company. Part of the reason why I watch the sport of basketball, and there are many reasons of course, but one of the biggest ones is that I love to see records get broken and history be made. It's so cool to watch these things unfold in real time and be able to say, like tell my kids someday or talk to y'all here and just discuss some of the greatest feats we've ever seen in the sport of basketball. And Nikola Jokic is on the verge of joining some of that elite company. And I think that's absolutely incredible for the game. It's incredible for the league, and just all around as a fan, it's been amazing to watch. So at this point in the video, you may be a bit confused because I'm pretty sure I'm going to title this the Nikola Jokic problem, and there doesn't really sound like there's any type of problem. He's on the verge of winning back-to-back-to-back MVPs. The Nuggets are one of the best teams in the NBA. So what's the issue? What is this video truly about? Basically, there's a subsection of NBA fans, in fact, maybe even some of you watching this video, that don't want to see Jokic win MVP or don't think he deserves it. And there are 2 camps in that department. The first one just think that there are other better candidates out there, like a Jason Tatum, a Joel Embiid, a Kevin Durant, a Luka Doncic, just to name a few guys. That's completely understandable. Each of these players, as well as some others, are making phenomenal MVP cases. I really understand if you would just have a different pick. That's totally fine with me, and I'm happy to debate that with y'all in the comment section below. But there's also some people who think that Jokic just shouldn't win the MVP because it's bad for basketball. Not that he'd win 1, but that this would make him one of the only players ever to three-peat as most valuable player. Their main argument is that Nikola Jokic isn't of legend status like a Wilt Chamberlain or a Bill Russell or a Larry Bird. Like I said, all probably top 10, top 12 players in the history of the sport. They don't think that Jokic belongs in the conversation with those legends when guys like Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and LeBron James didn't go back-to-back-to-back in terms of winning MVP awards. There's also a smaller group of people that think that Jokic doesn't deserve another MVP award because his teams, quote, haven't had any playoff success, and we'll talk about all this in a second. But yeah, this is their main argument, and I think this is just lazy all around. It's a bad way of thinking, and it's bad for the sport to think like this and not want to see history be made because you have your own biases, you have your nostalgic reasons, whatever. I just think all around this argument is really, really lazy. So let's break down what's wrong with this way of thinking. First of all, once again, if you just have a straight up different pick for MVP, that's completely understandable. There are so many great candidates statistically as well. Stats are all over the place. Like I said, Luka, Tatum, Kevin Durant, just to name a few guys. I completely understand if you pick one of those guys over Nikola Jokic. That's completely fine. But if you're in this other camp of people that think it's like bad for the game and stuff like that, that's where I really have the issue. So let's start off with talking about how people say that Jokic isn't like these other legends, so he doesn't deserve to be a back-to-back-to-back MVP. None of these legends that we know now just popped in out of nowhere and all of a sudden they were a Hall of Famer. It takes time. They have to build up their resume, and that's exactly what Nikola Jokic is doing. He's breaking the mold. He's truly revolutionizing what it means to be a center in the NBA. He really is one of the biggest reasons why the position is changing the way that it is. He's a ball handler, he's a playmaker, and not just that, he's the single best playmaker at the history of the sport in the center position. We've never seen a guy that can play make as a big man like the way he is. And not just that, he's probably like a top 10 playmaker in the history of basketball in general, outside of positions. You might think I'm overreacting, but I really think that is the case. I think he's even got an argument for probably like top 5, and by the end of his career, he will be truly in the conversation for the best playmakers ever. There's also the fact that he's having the single greatest volume efficiency shooting of all time, and that he just keeps getting better and better on that end. And when you combine the playmaking and the all-time great scoring, he's having one of the best offensive peaks we've ever seen. It's probably top 5 when you really think about it, with, like I said, the generational all-time great playmaking and the absolutely historical scoring. He is one of the best offensive engines in the history of basketball, and that all around is part of what his legacy is going to be. One of the best offensive players ever. Right now, he's already got a great argument to be a top 10 center of all time, and by the end of his career, he'll probably be pretty firmly in that top 5 if he can win another MVP or so and win a couple of titles. And that's also, once again, one of the arguments that people make against Jokic winning MVP, the fact that he hasn't had much team success. First of all, MVP is a regular season award. I don't care if you got swept in last year's playoffs after winning the MVP. If you are the best player in the following regular season, you deserve the MVP award. That's how the award works. You also have to consider the fact that Jokic just hasn't played with a single All-Star in his career. If you gave him an All-Star caliber player, there's a good chance he might have a title by now. There's also the fact that they've been injury riddled over the past few seasons. The last time they were healthy was in the bubble, and in those playoffs they made it to the Western Conference Finals before falling to the eventual champion Los Angeles Lakers. The year after that, they ended up losing in the second round to the Suns because they had no guards, with Jamal Murray dealing with that ACL injury. Michael Porter Jr. was hardly in the lineup, and some other injuries happened to their guard core as well. Then this past season, they ended up losing to the Golden State Warriors. Jamal Murray once again dealing with that ACL injury. Michael Porter Jr. didn't play at all last season, and the Warriors ended up winning the championship. So they faced some really tough competition, and they've never been healthy. The last time they were healthy once again was in 2020 when they made the Western Conference Finals, and right now they seem poised to maybe make another run there, if not to the finals themselves. Then finally, there's the point people make of, oh, why does Nikola Jokic get these 3 straight MVPs when a guy like, say, LeBron James never managed that feat? And that's a whole nother issue in particular. This isn't a Jokic problem, this is a voter fatigue problem. And if you don't know what that is, let me fill you in. Basically, voter fatigue is when a player wins multiple MVPs in a row, or they win several awards in a row, or they're just always in contention, and eventually voters in the NBA kind of get tired of voting for them. We see in other sports as well, but I feel like the NBA has it more than any other, or at least that's been my perspective up to this point. So you'll have like a guy like LeBron James, who's been the best player in the world year after year after year, but he doesn't win that many MVP awards. And part of that is due to the fact that a guy like LeBron, some of the all-time greats, kind of coast in the regular season. They just kind of hang out. And when they get to the playoffs, they're like, okay, I'm going to remind you why I am the best player in the world. LeBron had multiple seasons where, wow, yeah, he was the best player on the planet. He didn't have necessarily the best individual regular season. There were teams with better records than him, guys putting up better stats. Not that it really mattered to LeBron, because he just had to get to the playoffs and then he would dominate everybody en route to an NBA Finals appearance. But overall, statistically, he was beat a lot of these times, and so that's part of the reason why he didn't win so many awards. But yeah, in general, I do agree LeBron probably should have a few more MVP awards, but that's a voter fatigue problem, not a Nikola Jokic problem. I've seen some people say, oh, why doesn't voter fatigue apply to Nikola Jokic? And it might. We haven't seen the award voting actually happen yet, so there is a good chance that, you know, while I and a lot of NBA Twitter people think that Jokic probably at this point should win the most valuable player award at least halfway through the season, there's a lot of the year to go. Who knows if the voters will also feel that way? If, say, at the end of the season, Luka's Mavericks are like the 3 seed, there's probably a good chance that he ends up winning the award over him. If, say, like a Joel Embiid leads the Sixers to a 1 seed after an amazing run in the second half of the season, maybe he gets the award. There still is plenty of time, so we really don't know how voter fatigue is going to play a part in this, but even if it doesn't, that's a good thing for the sport long term. Hopefully that means that voter fatigue is coming to an end, because I personally feel like that's a really lazy way of voting, and overall you should just pick the best player in each season every single time, even if it means a guy winning like 5 MVPs straight. All in all, I feel like if someone's main argument that a player shouldn't win MVP is because they don't like that it's going to change history or it's going to lead to a player joining the status of some of these other legends, that's a really bad way to look at the sport. I think the best way to think about basketball is that it's going to continuously evolve. Records, like I said, are going to be broken. LeBron's about to break Kareem's all-time scoring record within the next few weeks. That's incredible. I'm so excited that I get to see that. Same with like Steph Curry breaking the all-time 3-point record. That was amazing to watch live. These are all things that I want to see more of. I want to see guys win like 3 straight MVPs, 3 straight even like defensive player of the years. Guys go on incredible runs individually, statistically, break triple-double records, all this stuff. There's a lot of people that are saying, oh, records don't matter at this point because this thing is changing the sport and the 3-point shot and whatever. I don't care. I want to see history be made. And so it's super cool that Jokic is on the verge of potentially doing this, but also if another guy wins, that's cool too. Seeing another player that would become a first-time MVP winner, potentially at least, that's awesome. They then established themselves in the history books as one of the very few players ever to win a Most Valuable Player award. All in all, regardless of who wins, it's going to be historic and it's going to be fun to watch. So overall, just enjoy the game of basketball. There's no point in being upset about stuff like this when really there are some other ways you can think about the game. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Go ahead and comment down below who your MVP pick is at this moment. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real One Safe back.